A country's brand and the brands a country produce form a virtuous circle. The positive perception of a country helps brands grow in new markets, and positive brand experiences in new markets improves the perception of its country of origin. It's a circle that is self-perpetuating, goes round and round. Now, this was a quote on a great Beef and Lamb New Zealand webinar series I watched today, Global Market and Taste Pure Nature Update. And so we're going to be joined now by a global manager for the New Zealand red meat story, Michael Wan, who knows a thing or two about a country's brand and how the brands within that country can benefit itself. Welcome, Michael Wan, to the program. How are you?
Good, Sarah. Thanks for having me.
No worries. The webinar was great. It covered off multiple different elements across the globe, from the US through to China. For those of who do not know about Taste Pure Nature, can we have a bit of background around how it originated and how it's operating?
Sure. So Taste Pure Nature is our country of origin brand. It represents our red meat sector, particularly beef and sheep. It dates back to probably 2.5 years ago, when we first started to explore New Zealand's position in the red meat context globally. So, what do people think about New Zealand? How do we fare on a premium scale? All those sorts of things. And what we found was the awareness and knowledge of New Zealand's sheep and beef farming systems and what we produce in terms of a quality product were very weak, and the knowledge was very weak. And so we set about developing Taste Pure Nature as a way to communicate to a particular target consumer segment what's great about New Zealand beef and lamb products.
And what are some of those key attributes that when they do discover New Zealand's farming practices, they really cling to, these foodies?
It's a good question. At a high level, what people are drawn to, or what conscious foodies are drawn to, is this place that we farm in. So New Zealand's environment, and from the outside perspective, what they see is, still this clean green image, this purity image, and so we've really tried to tap in on that. So within this New Zealand environment, they also care about the approach we take to farming, which is very light touch, low intensity, hands off, compared to some of the more industrialised or intensive farming systems you'd often see, say, in the USA, around grain-fed production. Underneath that sits this idea of grass-fed, that the animals are 100% grass-fed, and that we've got a connected farming community, often family farmers running these farms and generating this fantastic product that ultimately these consumers can eat.
Now, I live and breathe the media industry, and I know how much noise there is across all types of media, and particularly social media here in New Zealand, let alone the States, Michael. How on earth do you start to throw money at that beast?
It's easy to throw money at lots of things, but we've had to be very smart around our investment and think strategically around getting the best return on investment. So we've partnered with a really capable creative agency in the US who've helped us develop a strategy and identify the right channels and the right consumer segment to tap into through those social media and digital channels. So we've been quite successful in how we've established that and the program to date, and things seem to be going really well.
We always talk a lot, as particularly on Sarah's Country, around experiential influence. And when you physically have people here, how can you tell us, our audience, around the Familiarisation trip that was held earlier with a lot of journalists and influencers from the States with great success?
Yeah, I mean, that's been one of the highlights of our program to date. So in December last year, we brought down from the US, we hosted 5 social media influencers and a freelance journalist. And look, there's nothing like showing people firsthand what we were actually talking about. So we planned a week-long program for them where they got to engage with real farmers on their farms, engage with the herds of animals, and obviously experience the best beef and lamb New Zealand has on offer. So it was beyond just the farming experiences and the meat itself, but we wanted to showcase the best of New Zealand to really make sure that they came away with a fantastic idea and experience around what New Zealand has to offer at a kind of more general level. So the feedback from all of the participants that we brought down was absolutely incredible. The freelance journalist in particular had been on it was her 21st trip that year, which she'd been, traveling around various countries. And she said to me, right at the end, this has been the best trip I've ever been on, the best trip. So I think we're doing something right, if she's saying that. And in terms of the response we got, we've had 40 million impressions in the US market, 126,000 engagements on social media. So, that's where people are, liking it, sharing it, saving content, they're really engaging in it. So, that was a fantastic program that we've run. And, if COVID hadn't happened, we'd certainly be looking at doing that again sometime.
Let's talk about COVID. It's had a huge impact on the restaurant trade, which New Zealand in particular, companies like Silver Fern Farms' entire business model was around, and that pivoting into e-commerce. What have you seen that you're most proud of internationally from our red meat marketers and processors?
Yeah, just to tap into that, COVID's, while it's a bad thing, and it's had quite an impact on red meat supply chains and things like that. It's actually a silver lining for New Zealand in terms of what we've got to offer. So as we've seen consumers become more conscious around what they put in their bodies, they're seeking out more nutritious food and food that's going to support their health and wellness. New Zealand's got, in terms of New Zealand's red meat offering, we've got something really compelling. So on the positive side, it's a great opportunity or a window of opportunity for us to tap into. You're right, the food service industry globally, and in particular the US and China markets where we've been focusing most of our attention, it's being decimated, right? And some of these businesses have structured themselves so that the majority of their business is focused on food service as opposed to consumer. What we have seen, given the growth of e-commerce acceptability with consumers, in that we've seen an increase in e-commerce sales, particularly of perishable foods like red meat. A lot of these companies have been pivoting their business to become more direct to consumer, and so we've got a program, for example, with Silver Fern Farms and their in-market distributor, where we're developing a marketing program to support that direct to consumer business and to help ensure that this company is going to be around for Silver Fern Farms and for the conscious foodie consumer for years to come.
Now, on the politics side, Michael, could you let us know how positive it has been with the collaboration of these companies in market?
Yeah, it's a growing exercise. What I talked about on the webinar today was that essentially Beef and Lamb's investing in two work streams. They're both integrated, they're not mutually exclusive, and they rely on one another. The first work stream is where we invest at a strategic level in establishing the awareness and driving consideration for New Zealand grass-fed meats. We initiated that in California back in March 2019 and have since moved that out into other areas of the USA. So having that foundational knowledge and understanding of why would I choose New Zealand, what's so special about New Zealand, why would I consider it, is absolutely important. Alongside that, we've established quite a number of what we call agile partnerships with New Zealand meat companies. Now, sometimes they're individually with them, and often they're a collaborative group of New Zealand meat companies, like we've seen in China in particular. And so they each work hand in hand. When we do these agile initiatives with New Zealand meat companies, it's often to support retail programs. So that means we can go beyond just talking about what's fantastic about New Zealand grass-fed red meats and actually point out particular brands, whether it's Silver Fern Farms, First Light, Atkins Ranch, and also we're able to direct consumer interest to retail stores, be it Whole Foods or you name it. So that's where we can get that linkage all the way through to the consumer and ultimately sales conversion.
Thank you so much, Michael. Michael Wan is the Global Manager for the New Zealand Red Meat Story. Now, Michael, after you finish with this job, I've got another job for you. The wool industry.
What's that? Oh, yeah.
Let's repeat it across that as well.
About that, right?
Back to our meat and wool. I might start something, stir up people in the comments. No, I really appreciate all the hard work that you're doing around the globe and the collaborative nature of what is Taste Pure Beef and Lamb New Zealand initiative. This is Sarah's Country.